Welcome to our next parent education video. I'm Tony Kemper, I'm our head of school. Phil Howes, our director of instruction. And this is a topic that has been a significant part of our DePaul school story for 45 years. And that's the specialized way in which we teach language arts. It's dPSL, DePaul Structured Literacy. And Phil, many schools have particular reading techniques or methodologies they've developed over time or that they've used. They're grounded, many of them, in the Organgillingham philosophy.
Right.
First of all, for our families, what is that Organgillingham methodology or philosophy?
There's a lot that we could talk about it, but it does boil down to some key components that are crucial and research-based in addressing reading disabilities. And one would be explicitness, that the teacher is making very clear the concepts and skills that the students need to learn. He or she is modeling these, explaining these, and providing feedback as students practice these. The second is that the units and concepts are sequenced, that they build upon each other one by one. There's a logical and developmental order to what is being taught. The next component is multisensory, that we want to involve as many senses as possible in practicing and developing these skills and concepts. That would include visual, auditory, tactile, and kinesthetic or movement senses. Another key crucial feature of Organgillingham is that it's intensive. It is intensive in frequency, it happens every day. In intensity, it is hard work. And in duration, it is a substantial portion of a child's day. These are crucial components for a curriculum to be successful with children with these issues.
And I guess that touches upon the key point. For many students, they do not need a particular reading technology or methodology in order to help them learn, to decode, to comprehend. But our students do need a teaching difference when it comes to language, correct?
Exactly, exactly. This is a curriculum that is specifically designed for students with difficulty learning to read and spell.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important in introducing Phil too. Phil's been the curator of our language arts program and has led the professional development of that literally for decades, and has also been the author of the newest revisions of that work. And Phil, in your work, you emphasize the necessity of a balanced approach. Mm-hmm. And what do we mean by a balanced approach?
By balanced, we mean that we don't fall into the trap that is typical in many special ed programs. Too often, special education focuses on the areas of weakness that a child is dealing with. And in this case would often be the child's ability to decode text that's on a page, to recognize the words that are in print, and to spell those words. But it is too easy and too common for teachers to focus solely on that area and not develop other aspects of literacy and composition. And so our call to balance is really to make sure that we are providing a full, well-rounded approach to literacy. Not everybody's difficulties are the same. Not all of our students struggle with dyslexia, for example. We may have students with comprehension difficulties, with writing difficulties. And so we need a well-rounded approach that addresses the full spectrum of what it means to be literate.
Mm-hmm. And it is significant to note that all of our teachers are trained to be language arts teachers. So Absolutely. They understand this balanced approach, and so they can manifest that in all their classes, whether they're teaching math, social studies, science, and that makes a big difference in our day too.
That's part of the intensity,
Mm-hmm.
And not many schools are capable of doing that, but we are able to reinforce and to practice the very skills that students are practicing and learning in language arts in science class, in math class, and social studies class throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. In terms of the DePaul Structured Literacy, there are certain key components, and the first, which has been at the heart of our language program for decades, is linguistics. Can you talk briefly about linguistics, Phil? What does it mean to us and for our kids?
Linguistics is the instruction of the code of English language. So it is how words are spelled, how they appear on the page. It is teaching students to memorize and recognize sight words and to decode words that they haven't memorized, to look at their patterns and to figure out what they sound like and what they are. It also encompasses grammar and mechanics such as punctuation and so forth. But it is that code, that written code of the English language And that certainly is the area of struggle for students with dyslexia.
And for, unfortunately, too many programs, that would be the extent
Right.
of their instruction. But you've added additional elements that our teachers are delivering. One of those is reader's craft. What
Right.
do we mean by reader's craft?
Reader's craft is the art of reading. That's why I love that term, reader's craft, so well. It is the art of making meaning out of what's on the page. And there are many crucial components of that depending on where a child's struggles lie. For many students, their struggles in making meaning are in decoding. But in others, it is the ability to stay engaged in the text. They either lose attention or they've never learned what they're supposed to be doing when they read. And this is an example of some of the skills that we teach students when we look at what reading is and what you're supposed to be doing while you read. We want you to be predicting what will be coming next. We want you to be summarizing as you go along what the main ideas are. But it may also be an issue of visualization, teaching kids how to form pictures in their mind of what they're reading. So there are many aspects of what it means to be a good reader, and that's what reader's craft is all about.
And that takes me back to that word balance, because in some programs which are more therapeutic or clinical, it may be sufficient for them just to teach a child to call a word correctly.
Right.
But oh my goodness, there's so much more to language, which is why we call this DePaul structured literacy. It's language arts, it's literacy, all of that.
Exactly, and it goes to an advanced level in terms of really critical analysis, analyzing text to figure out what the author's intent is, even if it's not explicitly stated.
It's high-powered stuff. What about reader's craft? Writer's craft.
Writer's craft is the art of writing, and so we look beyond the linguistics level of spelling and punctuation. We look at what is good communication. How do you communicate to your audience, and how do you know who that audience is? So it's everything from teaching students how to generate ideas, to how to organize those ideas into a meaningful sequence or structure, to drafting, to revising, to really thinking about, again, how to communicate effectively to your audience.
I think it's impressive as you walk through the school, we intentionally post student written product, their craftsmanship. I know early in my special education instruction, I was told to not expect much from students with dyslexia or learning differences when it came to writing. And my goodness, here we see an abundance of sophisticated poetry, essays, autobiographies. Our kids really are, they're superlative writers if taught correctly.
If taught how to go about it exactly, how to organize their thoughts, how to get those thoughts sequenced, and they are capable of communicating profound thoughts.
Around all of the dPSL, that word purposefulness comes into play. What is purposefulness? Why is it important as we teach students how to read, how to write, how to communicate?
Well, it's the ultimate goal of reading and writing and teaching reading and writing is for it to be purposeful. We want students to leave our school, to leave their school careers and enter life, citizenship, and career knowing how reading and writing relates to their lives. And so we can't just wait for that to happen when they leave school. It has to be part of our instruction while they're here. And so students are reading things that are meaningful to them. They're writing letters that communicate, whether it's to a government agency or others, the things that are important to them. They are writing to elicit a reaction or a response from others. And that's the ultimate goal.
And we realize that each day. Again, every one of our teachers is a language arts teacher. They've been trained in DePaul structured literacy. So throughout the day, we have opportunities to focus on that purposefulness and the craftsmanship associated with language. We hope you've enjoyed this overview of our dPSL program. I assure you, Phil and our teachers could talk for much longer. If you have any questions, call us because it is a distinction of which we're quite proud.